Well, time to arrive. As I said in the email with the link in, I'm being pushed and pulled most enjoyably, but definitely it's putting my roots to the test. So we're going to do a few movements which do incorporate a little bit of balance today. So we'll see how things go. That's great. Lovely. Now let's see if I've got my camera in the right position. That's good. Lovely. Oh, lovely to see you back again, Judith. And great. So, arriving. Find a place in your room where you're not going to hit a wall, knock over a Ming vase, feet a little wider than shoulder width stance. Just checking, as always, that you feel okay with your weight. Hello, Julie. Glad you were able to make it. You're muted, but that's okay. That's lovely. So just letting the body begin to shift weight, the spine turning very, very gently. That's it. Oh, I'm just standing on a creaky floorboard, just going to move slightly. That's better. Yes. And since the theme of today, it's my stuff, but it might well be your stuff as well, is being okay with the instability that comes around when life pushes and pulls us all over the place. So in this opening, arriving arm swinging movement, put a conscious effort into keeping your feet flat on the ground. So not such a big swing that the heels begin to lift off the ground. Right from the word go, cultivating those roots, feeling the support the earth gives us. That's it. So once you've got that little bit in, the feet really connecting with the earth, even while we're arriving, then we can begin to just feel how the body is today. Is it feeling stiff, comfortable? Is it waking up to a proper spring at long last? That's it. Letting the head turn on the shoulders. And then gradually taking your attention down to the waist. So the core, the waist, leads us into each swing. Those deep abdominal muscles, muscles in the low back. Each swing coming from that core. The waist drawing the rest of the body from one side to the other. That's it. As always, be kind to the weight-bearing joints. If a hip is a bit dodgy, don't let your weight go all the way over onto that side. If a knee can't be trusted, again, don't put too much weight on it. That's it. Waist drawing the hips round, knees following the hips. Little stretch on the ankles at the end of each swing. Waist drawing the chest round, shoulders following the chest, head following the shoulders. And last but not least, the mind's eye. At the end of each swing, just out of the corner of your eye, playfully seeing how much horizon you can see. How much of that space between the sky and the earth. That's it. Feeling the weight of your arms gently drawing the shoulders apart. Taking your attention down to the hands. Imagining or feeling the the weight of the flesh and the bones in your fingers and thumbs, gently opening, softening the wrists. Weight of the forearms, gently pulling on the elbows, softening the elbows, letting our natural lubricant get into the joints. That's it. And without even trying, the weight of the arms gently drawing the shoulders apart. More space to breathe in, more space to breathe out. It just happens. You don't have to do it. That's it. And then to finish the movement, gradually let each swing get a little tiny bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less, until the movement disappears. That's good. Lovely. Now, I'm going to just take the attention, chop my head off, and let you see my feet. There we are. So we're going to do the movement I call 1 foot forward arm swing. So feet are under the hips. Just shift your weight onto whichever side feels more confident. The other side peels off the ground, moves forward by the length of your foot, out by 45 degrees. And just to begin with, just see how confident each leg feels as your weight goes forwards over the front foot, backwards over the back foot. Sometimes you wobble a bit because the body's very keen. It wants to go beyond the front foot, and then you lose your balance. So it's a very small movement. You're only going backwards and forwards 7 or 8 inches, not far. That's good. See if you can let the movement come from the core. So the core pulls you forward, the core pulls you backwards. And again, don't make one leg take too much weight. If it feels vulnerable, don't go too far forwards. It can be a very small movement. The arms are just hanging softly. Again, we're not doing arm swinging. It just happens. That's good. And then take your attention up to the crown of the head. Use that image of the puppet string at the crown of the head, just gently drawing you up from the top of the head, taking the weight of your head off your shoulders. The spine, not a solid column, but a string of chunky bones just hanging down from the head. That's it. Very gentle movements. If the arms feel a bit stiff, stick-like, shake, fidget. Never ration the shakes, never restrict the shakes. That's it. That puppet string, lifting the head, lightening the body, taking the weight off the hips, the knees, the ankles, the low back. That's it. Remember to breathe. Good. And the mind's eye just on that space in front of you between the sky and the earth. That's it. Soft gaze, not trying to see anything in front of you, just aware of the space. And then before any part of the body begins to complain too much, just let the movement gradually disappear. The arms aren't stopped, they just Swing less and less and less till they disappear. And then the sky hook draws you back, so your weight's over the back leg. Front foot peels off the ground, comes back to the parallel stance. Shift your weight as much as your body feels comfortable onto the other side. The other foot peels off the ground, just the length of your foot forward, 45 degree. And again, don't make assumptions. Just feel how the weight feels on your front leg, on your back leg. Don't push the weight too far forwards or too far back if there's a vulnerable joint. That's lovely. And of course, where the mind goes, our energy and attention is drawn. So when we think about our knees and our hips, we get pulled downwards, which is good for our roots. Nice to feel the soles of the feet, but we don't want to be too heavy. So as soon as you've got a little rhythm going, back up to the crown of the head, that puppet string lightening you, lengthening you, taking the weight of the head off the shoulders, taking the weight of the upper body off the low back and the pelvis, taking the weight off the hips and the knees and the ankles. All the movement coming from the core, the hara, the dantian, however you like to image that. The core pulls you forwards, the core pulls you backwards. And what's most important is if you wobble, you laugh at yourself. Donkey mind, donkey body. Springtime is a time for wobbling. That upward, expanding energy of spring. It's so enthusiastic and exciting that it can often weaken our roots. That's it. Lovely. Again, don't restrict your wobbles, your shakes. Face soft, mind's eye on that distant horizon. That's it. Good. And then just as before the body gets a little stiff, just let each movement get a little less, a little less, a little less. Not putting the brakes on, just letting the movement disappear. And then the sky hook, the puppet string draws your body weight over the back foot, front foot peels off the ground, back to the parallel stance. That's lovely. And then we'll do our old favorite, the backwards and forwards swing, purely because it's just such a lovely way of incorporating the whole body in a more free-flowing movement. So feet still under your hips, parallel, and I don't want my head chopped off any longer, so I think we'll bring that back up. There we are. Oh, that's much nicer. You don't need to see my feet for this. Oh, knees ever so slightly soft, so you get a sense of the legs being more like springs. And none of us are perfect. We all have our own patterns, our own strengths. So, if one side feels a little bit vulnerable, let your weight shift over. It doesn't have to be each side doing the same amount of work. And then the arms, just tick-tocking. That's it. That's lovely. Again, if the arms feel a bit stiff, shrug the shoulders, shake the arms. Right from the word go, take your attention up to the crown of the head. Use the puppet string to lift you and drop you. Lift you and drop you. That's it. Quite small movements at the moment. Small swings are faster swings. And this begins to put your roots down, beginning to feel the earth pushed against the soles of your feet. Beginning to feel your feet, your toes spreading. The roots not content to just hover on the surface of the earth. The roots beginning to drop down, to connect with the earth. That's good. Then we can let the arms swing a little higher. No higher than shoulder height, and no higher than comfort height. If you've got any restriction to the shoulder movement, don't let me tempt you to make the movement bigger than you can smile. That's it. Nice, easy swings. Slower but more powerful. Each time the arms drop, the feet are roots really being pushed into the earth. That's good. And then from this lovely, strong, stable, supportive, strong roots position, we can let the arms swing a little higher, only if the shoulders let them. That upward swing, now opening up the chest, allowing us to breathe more deeply, drawing in and releasing, opening up the belly, space in the digestive system, space to let the digestive tubes work more efficiently, to absorb the energy, the qi from the food we've eaten for breakfast. That's it. And then each swing gradually gets less and less and less until eventually the movement disappears. That's it. Nicely aerobic. Hopefully that hasn't made any part of your body grumble. You should be nicely breathless. You can hear my Labrador enthusiasm for that movement. It's one of my favorite movements. It just wakes me up in the morning. Great. So now a little bit of calming. So remember that we're going to do the basic shoulder rotations. If the body is tired or any of the weight-bearing joints feel uncomfortable, you can sit. You can sit on the sitting bones, the feet at the bottom, and do this movement. So feet under your shoulders. Quite nice not to look at where your feet are, just placing them where it feels like your shoulders are. That's it. Knees soft side of locked. That's good. Aim at a parallel stance, but only if that's comfortable. So don't push your legs into a parallel stance if that causes pain in the knees or the hips. Just as near parallel as your body's comfortable. Arms just hanging off the shoulders. Puppet string, taking the weight of our head off the shoulders, lifting, lengthening, expanding. And never restricting any area that feels a bit stiff. If you've been doing odd things, gardening contorts the body, getting over things and moving nets on the allotment. Especially if they've been neglected for a while. Loosening the hips, nice little wiggle and jiggle of the hips. Or if the hips don't like jiggling, just very gently curling the hips. So it's like you're rotating them backwards, tucking the tailbone in that releases the low back, but then let go of that tension. Don't hold that position. So curl the pelvis, tuck the tailbone in, and then just let it go. That's it. Now, with all my rabbiting on, with a bit of luck, the aerobic quality of the arm swings is beginning to let the breath soften, beginning to let the heart be a little quieter. Just take your attention to any sensation that tells you you're breathing. Feeling air going in and out of your nose, hitting the back of the mouth, going up and down the windpipe. You often don't feel that unless it's a really cold day. Warm air is harder to feel in your nose, in your mouth, in your throat. Feeling the chest filling, feeling the belly filling. Maybe just feeling clothes getting a bit tighter, a little bit looser. And just gradually taking that awareness down to the movement in the belly. So you feel the waistband of the trousers, leggings getting a bit tighter as you breathe in, a little looser as you breathe out. Lazy breaths. We're not rushing for an appointment. Just letting the breath come in, the breath leave. The image of the nose and the belly. So checking where your tummy button is, about an inch below the tummy button, 2 little nostrils. So you're no longer breathing in and out through the nose in the face. You're breathing straight into the core, the storehouse. Breathing in, filling the belly up. Breathing out, letting the belly empty. Soft breathing, lazy breathing. All the time, each breath in, recharging, refueling. Each breath out, releasing, creating space. That's it. You can keep your eyes half open or close them. There's a lovely couplet in one of Rumi's poems that simply says, close both eyes and use the other one. Just seeing, being aware of that space between the sky and the earth. That's good. Feeling the support the earth gives you beneath your feet. Feeling the lightness the sky gives you from the puppet string, the sky hook. And from that beautiful space of support, then let the arms float up, palms facing each other, and just let your mind feel or create that light ball, a balloon, a fairy liquid bubble between the palms of your hands. Sometimes it's just there and you don't need to work hard. Sometimes the mind has to be creative, giving the ball a color, a texture, a resistance. Give it a squeeze. It can be a very tiny, compact ball or a very large, expansive ball. Neither is right or wrong, better or worse. Fill that ball with helium. Give it a buoyancy. Allow it to support your hands. And when it feels right, let that buoyancy be enough to draw your hands upwards. Wherever you meet resistance, don't push through it. Just pause, have a little wriggle. If the resistance stays, don't go any higher. But if it dissolves, let the ball draw your arms up a little further. And at your highest point, the ball divides, one small ball stuck to the palm of each hand, gently supporting the arms down. At the bottom, the 2 small balls join, one large ball with the power to draw your arms up. Wherever your body resists, that's where the ball divides. Again, large movements, small movements. Just accepting that is the way it is. Not how it should be, not how it was yesterday or 20 years ago, how it is in this moment. As the large ball draws your arms up, let the body breathe in. As the two small balls support your arms down, let the body breathe out. The movement perfectly synchronizing with your comfortable breathing. Not making a small, slow movement if the body needs to breathe faster. At the end of each breath in, noticing that tiny moment of stillness before you breathe out. At the end of each breath out, noticing that tiny moment of stillness before you breathe in. Again, not doing stillness. Those moments of stillness are there. We simply need to notice them. So many moments of stillness. We'll just do 3 more circles. And at the end of your last circle, finding that space somewhere between the chest and the belly, where the chi is content to be still. Just checking the shoulders haven't crept up towards your ears. Checking that the body's not saying, oh, thank God Kim's finished, and letting the ears slump down towards the shoulders. That's good. Still hanging, still supported. Breathing softly into the belly. And then to finish, the hands just slide on top of that chi, and the weight of your hands takes the chi down to the earth. Arms hang. Soft breathing in the belly. And then we'll move straight in to the knee rotations. That's good. Lovely. If you need a little wriggle in between, don't ration, don't give any restriction to those wriggles. Hands resting on thighs. Sky hook, as always, just lowers you. So not making the knees or the hips go any further than they feel confident. If one hip feels vulnerable, letting the other do a bit more work. Don't force a vulnerable area to be what it isn't ready to be yet. And then starting with small, tiny circles. The knees just creating little tiny circles to begin with. Keeping the soles of the feet firmly stuck to the ground. Your roots are intact, not loosening them, not weakening them. To allow the knees to make those circles, the puppet string lifts and lowers, lifts and lowers. If those circles create any discomfort or vulnerability, make them smaller, tiny, almost invisible circles. Circles that are only in your mind, not in your physical body. If the physical body feels okay, experiment with letting the circles become a little bigger, a little bigger. Each time the body's lowered, the feet, your roots pushed against, into the earth, toes spreading, connecting. roots holding the earth together, roots receiving nourishment from the earth, mutual support. It's not just us taking support from the earth. That's great. Just 3 more circles in this direction. And then change direction. Always grinning inwardly, because when I do this movement, I'm not looking at the screen, so I haven't the faintest idea what you're doing. Hopefully you have a smile on your face. I'm not making you do something that's making you grimace. And if the muscles in the legs or any part of the body start to twitch or judder, smile at them, congratulate them. They're untangling themselves. That's it. Just 3 more movements. And then come back to the basic standing WuQi position. Feet under the shoulders, knees soft. Ah, and it's so nice to see everyone moving, that no one has frozen. In the early days of these Zoomings, during the COVID lockdowns, we had so many glitches. I think it put a strain on the Wi-Fi of the world. And either I was freezing or individuals were freezing. Ah, great. So let's do our usual cultivating roots and shaking. And again, I'm going to cut my head off. I was doing a class on Wednesday at a local cancer charity, and so many of the participants have had chemotherapy, which interferes with some of the nerve endings, so the feet don't feel very part of them. So I'm very aware that I'm so lucky that I can feel my toes, that when I'm careless and I stub my little toe, it is so painful. And, you know, I'm a bit perverse. It's now, praise the Lord, hallelujah, I can feel my toes. So find a place that just allows your toes to bend gently, not putting too much weight. If you need a wall or a chair or a table, that gives the body a little bit more confidence, and just rolling the foot gently from one toe to the other. That's it. Each time you pause at each toe, each root, just visualize all that warming, nourishing chi in the belly, connecting with your roots, connecting with each root. That's it. Respect on the bunion, the big toe joint. Don't make it bend more than it's comfortable. And only if it feels okay, that little backward flip, so the top of the toes get stretched. Again, without support, that can sometimes trigger a cramp. So support if the muscles feel a bit tight. That's it. Just rolling from the top of each toe, connecting your roots to the core, connecting your core to the roots. And then heel on the ground. Oh, that was a nice wobble, Judith. That's it. Great. Lassoing that big toe, pulling, pulling, pulling. Oh. Oh. Again, never to pain. If you've got a vulnerable hip joint, don't pull the toes forward to the point of discomfort, just enough to feel a nice stretch. Oh, that's good. And then the other side. Oh, there we are. And my toes are very bendy. So if your toes have been broken or are stiff, have rust in them, you don't need to put your foot as far back as this. It can be much further forward. Just finding a place where you can let the weight of your leg drop down onto the balls of the toes. Ah, that's it. Gently, gently. Ah, pausing on each toe. If you can feel it physically, great. If you can't, just use your mind to connect with third toe, second toe, fourth toe. That's it. That backward flip. Ah, enjoy the wobble. Playfully. That's it. Ah, and don't force it. If the body doesn't like it, if the calf muscles feel like they're going to cramp, come out of it straight away. And then heel on the ground, lasso that big toe. Oh, ah. Oh, why am I saying "arr" in a sort of West Country accent, turning into a pirate? This movement just makes me feel like I'm pulling up an anchor, weighing anchor. Oh, that's good. Ah, and now the madness of shaking. Little wiggle of the hips, little shake of the ankle. We've got to the season where it's warm enough and dry enough to trot down into the garden in bare feet and accidentally tread on something that is perhaps a little slimy and flicking from the knee to get a little bit more power on that shake. Oh, that's it. Oh, again, hips, respect. That gentle kick, rubbish in the hip. Really visualize the rubbish in the hip and you're dislodging it, letting it go down the leg and out through the heel. So it's a little, it can be a tiny little movement, or it can be quite a big, vigorous movement. And making that cat coughing up a fur ball. Oh, I wish I could hear you. I wish I could unmute you now. That's it. And the other side. That's it. And then shaking. Shaking wrists. Oh, let's chop me. Get the head back again. Oh, that's it. So when you shake the wrist, the shake comes from the crown of the head. It's the puppet string shaking the wrists, not shoulder muscles. That's it. Good. Shaking coming up through the elbows, cross the shoulders, wiggle the shoulders, try and move the air in the chest by wiggling the shoulders. And if the head feels safe, let the head wiggle so you loosen the jowls, breathing in, and as you shake the head, you're breathing out, so you get this lovely and if you're lucky, it makes you cough. Oh. Mm. Now, I would like to do a movement we haven't done on screen for quite a long time. And I'm always a little hesitant. I used to turn my back on you, but I think it works okay because you're all looking at me as if I'm your mirror image. So hopefully this will work without. So it's the lovely movement called the Stork. And so chopping my head off a little bit more so you can see my feet a bit more. And I like the translation of stork. I was told once that it just really means a long-legged, elegant bird. So you can be a stork, an egret, a heron, or you could be really flamboyant. You could be an ibis or a flamingo. But the idea is that you're very, very carefully walking in shallow water and you lift one foot up without creating too many ripples. And then you place it down very gently without disturbing the water and frightening the fishes. Apparently, in reality, an RSPB warden told me that the water birds actually, as they put their feet down, they agitate the mud to stir up little crustaceans that they can then eat. But we're not going to go into reality. This is the imagination of this movement. All right. So, starting with the feet under the hips, so relatively narrow stance, hands just hanging. So it's a sort of narrow stance WuQi. After all the shaking, maybe the breath is still up in the chest, so just spending a little time noticing the belly, noticing the breath in the belly. Not forcing the chest to stop, so don't try and control the chest. Simply taking the attention down to the belly. That's lovely. Now, before you start, although you're sort of mirroring me, I might be shifting my weight onto a side that is vulnerable. So see which side feels most able to support your weight. That's it. And then the non-weight bearing side just lifts up onto the toes. That's good. Place it back down again. Do the same thing on the other side just to check. So if you've got a vulnerable side, not putting too much weight, just letting the other side come up onto its toes. Only as much shift of weight as your body feels comfortable. That's good. So start on the side that you feel most comfortable with. We begin our wings, our stork's wings opening, unfolding, coming to meet on the belly. Shifting your weight over to one side, the other side just peels off the ground. And if it feels okay, just lifting off the ground, touching the earth near your foot, a small step out to the side, and your wings now push down and backwards in line with the back and the back leg. All the weight comes back, arms just hang and soft. All the weight comes forwards, fingers spread, arms extend downwards, pulling the shoulders down. It's like your wings become another two legs to give you stability. And then to change sides, you come back, the front foot comes up on its heel, swivels as you gather, shifting the weight, and then take a small step. Not a big step, small step out to the other side. Hands come back. That's good. Sky hook pulls your weight back onto the back leg. Arms just hang. Sky hook pulls you forwards. Fingers spread. All the weight on the front leg. And then to change sides, the arms, the wings gather. Front foot on its heel swivels. Shift your weight. Touch the earth near your weight-bearing foot, and then a small step out to the other side. That's it. Drawn back, weight on the back leg, arms just hang softly. Sky hook pulls you forwards, weight over the front foot, fingers, feathers, arms, wings spread down. Breathe in as you come back, front foot swivels, step out to the other side. Breathe out, fingers spread. Breathe in, arms, fingers soft. Breathe out, weight goes forwards. Breathe in, swivel, gather, step out. Breathe out. Keep the step out small. Breathe in. And out. Fingers spread as your weight comes forward. Breathe in and gather. Front foot swivels. Step out to the other side. Breathe out. And if you wobble, again, laugh at yourself, smile. Breathe in. arms hang softly. Breathe out, fingers spread. Breathe in and gather. Front foot swivels on its heel. Step out. Breathe out. Breathe in, arms just hang. Breathe out, fingers spread, push down towards the earth. Breathe in and gather. Front foot swivels. Step out to the left. Shouldn't have said left, just step out. We'll just do one more movement to each side. Breathe in, arms hang. Breathe out. Weight drawn forwards, arms extend and spread. Breathe in and gather, front foot swivels. Step out for the last time. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And then to finish, exactly the same movement. So you breathe in, weight comes back onto the back foot, front foot swivels, but let both feet swivel. So you come back to the WuQi position with the hands just resting on the belly. Hopefully you didn't end up having a collision with any cameras. And then, as is so often the case with movements, there are two ways of finishing most Qigong movements. If you've been gathering Qi, it finishes with closing the cupboard doors. If you've been doing a movement like the Stork, the movement tends to be two hands just pushing down, that archetypal movement that just says, we've finished. That's it. Lovely. Let's bring that back up. Now, I'd like to finish with the movement known as raising one hand strengthens stomach and spleen. Stomach and spleen in Chinese culture are the physical manifestations of the earth in our body. So this is a movement which is very much about connecting with the earth, being stable, when life is pulling you this way, that way, over the sea to wherever. So feet under the shoulders. I'll turn at a jaunty angle to the screen because I think it's easier to see what my hands do rather than looking straight at you. That's great. So we begin simple WuQi position. Sky hook lifting. Knees soft. Feet connected to the earth. If that was a difficult movement, the Stork, and you were concentrating, perhaps the tension has built up in the back of the neck. So be careful that you're looking at the space between the sky and the earth and looking down your nose at the space. So remember that little catchphrase, regal, posh, but not snooty. That's it. Soft breathing in the belly. And then the hands come up, creating that ball of Qi. And as always, sometimes it's there and you don't need to work hard to create it. Sometimes there's nothing there. And the mind just has to do a little bit of creativity, giving the ball color, texture, buoyancy. Now, slide one hand on top, one hand underneath. We're going to trust our Qi to stay floating in front of us. The lower hand lets go, palm forward, palm down, fingers forwards. The upper hand lets go, palm upwards, fingers back. French waiter position, a tray resting on that upturned hand. Something precious, precarious, fragile, resting on that upturned hand. and then lifting it very, very gently. Be honest about your physical body. If the wrist doesn't like the same position as me, then you can just hold the tray on the tips of your fingers. But the minute the body says, I can go no further, that lower hand pushes down, connects with a rock beside you, the earth coming up in the form of a rigid, trustworthy rock that will support you and give you the confidence to hold up that precious, fragile object. And then let the image disappear. Palms reconnect. Lower hand slides on top, upper hand slides underneath. Lower hand separates, palm down, fingers forwards. Upper hand separates, palm up, fingers back. Again, just allow the mind to create that tray, that precious, fragile object resting on your upturned hand, lifting it, supporting it. And when your body and your mind says, I can go no further, that lower hand gets that ever-present support from the earth, from that rock beside you. And then let the image disappear. Palms reconnect. Hands slide round the ball of chi. Little wriggle of the shoulders, releasing any tension before you move into the movement. Making sure the sky hook is keeping you light. Lower hand separates from the chi, palm down, fingers forwards. Upper hand separates, palm up, fingers back. Create that precious object, a precious object, doesn't need to be the same one, fragile, lifting, 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 and then receiving that support from the earth beside you, that rock that gives you the confidence to hold up that precious object. Let the image disappear. Palms reconnect with the chi, slide round. Our last movement. So again, little wriggle of the shoulders, allowing the spine to hang as softly as possible. Lower hand releases, upper hand releases. Precious object resting on that upturned hand, lifting, 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 and receiving support when you need it. And then just letting the image disappear, reconnecting with the chi. This time the hands just slide either side, allowing the shoulders to release, the elbows to drop, trusting the chi to support your hands. Soft breathing in the belly. And then the hands just slide on top and gravity takes the chi down. Just letting the arms hang. So we finish back in the WuQi position. Puppet string keeping us light. Arms just hanging. And now our little ritual at the end of a class. So shifting your weight. It's the time for potting out seedlings. So some of you with gardens or allotments might be very familiar with how fragile young seedlings are. And treat your roots with that fragility as you shift your weight and lift your roots, ready to put them down somewhere else. Really visualize them as being vulnerable, tender, in need of respect, shifting your roots, just letting them allow you to move into a different space at the end of this class. So we're going to create our closing circle, which I have become really attached to. It's almost more powerful than when we're in a venue-based class. So if you haven't got the screen on gallery view, and it's easy for you to just press a button. Then just quickly turn it to gallery. There's 4 windows. There's Judith and Anne, Julianne, and Angela. But once you've just visualized the 5 of us, then just close your eyes and imagine us standing in a circle. The screen makes us sort of into little boxes, and it's harder if you're looking at the screen to really imagine us standing, sharing this space, even though we're not in the same room. We're sharing the space, we're working as a group. So closing your eyes and just imagine who might be on your left, who might be on your right, who might be in front of you. Now, left hand turns palm up, right hand turns palm down. And just imagine the person on your left, their right hand is resting on your left hand. Your left hand is supporting the weight of their right hand. And on your right hand is being supported by the person on your right's left hand. So left hand supporting, right hand being supported. And imagine breathing in through the left hand, breathing out through the right hand. Receiving from the left, giving to the right. The qi flowing round the circle as we breathe. Breathing in on the left, breathing out on the right. Supporting on the left, being supported on the right. Receiving from the left, giving to the right. All the time, the qi flowing round the group. And then in your mind, lift your right hand ever so slightly so you're no longer physically connected, but you still feel that support, even though there's no touch. Still breathing in on the left, still breathing out on the right. Still receiving from the left, still giving to the right. The qi still flowing round the circle. And then imagine, visualize your right hand dropping down, connecting physically with the partner on your left and your right. Give their hand a little squeeze, ready to break the circle. And it's such a shame that we have to be muted, but it wouldn't work. 3 loud claps to separate us, to allow us to go on our own separate journeys. 1, 2, 3.